Hello again, everybody. Kind of follow up on the past few days. We're going to give just a few minutes, let everybody get in here, and then we'll go through a quick little introduction and uh, go over some housekeeping stuff as well. Appreciate everybody joining again today. We'll give it just a few moments, folks. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through some attendee names, see if I notice anybody. Hey there, Cleo. Thanks for joining us again. Yeah, I see lots of names from the previous ones. Hey there, Penny. Hey, Thomas. Appreciate y'all joining us again. Oh, yeah, I got a whole bunch of people still rolling in here. Let's just take a few minutes, let everybody get in here. Hey, Alexander from Norway. Pleasure to meet you. I'll give it just a few more moments. Today's going to be a fun day, so to speak. My wife's a school teacher. I'm a basketball coach. Technically, I'm kind of a teacher here with PriceLabs as well. So, like to think of today as going to be one of your fun days. We're going to do just account review. You're going to watch me review some of the accounts. We're going to have our quiz later today as well, and then tomorrow is the prize day, so to speak. So tomorrow will be the day that we go in and actually review some of our attendees' accounts live. Really looking forward to that. So I'm gonna give it just a few more minutes while people churn in here. Uh, awesome to hear. Fantastic. Hello, Robert from Kentucky. Pleasure. Hey, Katan from London and Stephanie from Washington, D.C. Pleasure. About 2:02, I'll get started up Eastern Standard Time. I'm on monster number 2 for the day. I know I shouldn't be drinking monsters. It should be coffee if it's going to be caffeine. You are officially my 6th call for the day as well. Got 2 more after this. So looking forward to helping some customers afterwards and kind of going through and enjoying today with you guys. So again, just a little housekeeping. We've got 200 plus people in here today. Any questions, please put in the Q&A. That way we can get it back to you. Use the chat just for chit chatting and having a good time and introducing yourself to other folks. Please make sure those questions go into the Q&A though, so that we can get to them quickly and make sure that everybody gets a response as well. If at all possible, please refrain from raising your hand. I tried to look and see if I could turn that functionality off, but I couldn't figure it out. Do see Thomas's question. The weather in Tennessee is pretty good. It's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I've been inside all day, so I haven't really gotten out there. But it's a pretty nice January day so far. So thank you all again for joining us. Looks like we've got 7 questions in there. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, after today, we're going to be sending you a quiz to take. So please make sure you take that and submit it back. We are going to take 10 of our customers that are in here today, and the 10 that have the highest score, we're going to end up doing their review tomorrow live for everybody to watch. Krishma, if you want to hop in, feel free. Are we going to announce who we will be recording ahead of time or anything like that? Any additional
Yes.
details for tomorrow?
Yes. So we'll randomly pick 10 top scorers and email them that their account has been selected so that they can be on the call tomorrow. And you'll know in advance as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. Give me a second to share my screen. You are going to see my background as well as I pull up my PriceLabs account, I believe. So, oh no, we went straight to PriceLabs. That's the way to go. All right. So hopefully everybody's enjoyed our first few days. We've gotten some really good feedback, and for anybody that struggled to follow along, I do apologize. I do click kind of quickly in here. I tried yesterday to really slow it down for us so that we could all get a good eye on it, but this is a work in progress. Our master classes are. This is the second version of it. We hope to have these going on in the future as well. So we will keep taking your feedback and try to make these as useful as possible for you guys. Not going to hit over any of the stuff that we went over. We've talked about seasonal prices. We've talked about your base price. We've talked about your minimum length of stay, booking windows, all that good stuff. Now let's get into that whole process we were talking about of what should I be doing periodically. I suggested yesterday to kind of make sure that you're always in there about every 2 days or every 2 days, every 2 weeks or so. at a bare minimum, just so that you're aware of what's happening. So let's say that it is right now, it is the 30th of January, and I haven't been in there since January 14th. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to prepare and take my look. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a look at my metrics over here. I can see my occupancy is not doing its thing. It's not doing its thing. Obviously, ADR is not doing anything right here either because I don't have anything other than zeros. Um, and then just to make life a little bit more simple for me, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a new metric real quick. We talked about doing this. Don't know if you went in here and added some, but I'm going to pick one just to help me really easily identify the last time that this got booked. So I'm going to come over here. We've got all these options, but I'm going to select last book date. And what that's going to do, it's just going to help me easily identify on my pricing dashboard, when did this get booked last? So if I come over here, look at my property, Breckenridge, obviously you can tell I have not been putting in a lot of booking information, but now we could come in here and say, hey, this one hasn't been booked in a long time. Let me start there. So even though these are equally zeros, they look the same metrics wise. This one to me says I need to get into it first because I haven't gotten a booking in a long time. So we're going to go check out Sally's Field. We've played in here a little bit the past couple of days, but I am going to go into each of these and just go through and show what I would do in this situation as if we hadn't had those previous days' master classes. So here we are. I'm in January. I've got a couple of days available. I'm looking over here. Does anybody notice that I have an A on a couple of dates? Now that A is going to indicate something. And it doesn't say it right here, but if I hover over it, oh, it's an account override. So I have something that is telling this rate to do something else. So if I come over here, I'm going to have to figure out where that account override is. Let's go right there and look at our breakdown of pricing. So again, we read this from top to bottom. The base price is your input. The market factors are going to be PriceLabs input. So seasonality factor, demand factor. Customizations will now come in. So you can see that last minute default. You can see occupancy based adjustment default. That default implies that PriceLabs is doing that for you. And then I have a 10% override, and it says beside it account. It could say group if you use a group, or it would say listing if you have it specifically on this particular listing. So what this is saying is I have 10% increasing my rate here somewhere. So I'm going to take a note of that because I got to figure that out at some point, right? Little tip for you with PriceLabs. If you're going to be going to a couple of different areas within it, I'm a big fan of coming right over here, hitting your right button and opening it up in a new tab. That way you don't have to go bouncing back and forth in between. So I've still got my dashboard up here so that I can come back here immediately, but I'm going to go to my customizations. And since this tells me that it is an account override, it's not a group override and it's not a listing override. This is an account. I'm going to come to my customizations tab, which dynamic pricing, customizations. I can hit PriceLabs customizations. And now I can come over here to my account, which you see dummy PMS in there. That's because of the way this is built out, but it's going to be in Logify. I can come right here to Logify and I don't see anything. It doesn't say anything about a 10%, but I know there's an account override. So if I go right here, I have put one in the account calendar. So where this says account calendar, I have come in and you can see right here, I've said 10% change on my recommended price. I want it to go up 10% and I want a 3-night minimum length of stay. So this is right here. Let's go back real quick and look at our pricing dashboard, because now that this is applied at the account calendar, it is going to impact every one of those listings. So I'm coming back to my pricing dashboard. We're going to come right back in here to Sally's Field, but let's go take a look at one of those other listings and see if it has that account override as well. So we're in our Mountain Thunder Lodge in Breckenridge. I come over here to February and I can see that that account override is there as well. It's on this listing in Breckenridge. It's on that listing in Knoxville. It's on my listing in Chicago. So If you ever want to do something with a calendar and you say, like, you don't want to go in and do an individual listing and put 10% here, 10% on this listing, 10% on this listing, 10% on this listing, you can use this customizations area and this alternate calendar at your account level to do that. So all I have to do now, I've seen that. I don't want it in there anymore. I want to remove it. I'm going to click right here on this. And then I've got my handy dandy trash can right here. And now it's all gone. So if I go look over in February, completely wiped out, going to hit my X here. And now I can go back over to my pricing dashboard and my calendar. And I'm going to, even though we're looking at that Breckenridge property, I'm going to hit save and refresh and let's watch that A disappear. And you're also going to see that 10% extra fall off. So this 883 is probably going to fall to something like an 820, 815, something around there. Let's see what it does. Save and refresh. All right, so I'm not the best mathematician on in my head. I was 803, but kind of close. You can see the account level override's gone as well. So if you see an A, you're going to go to your customizations right here, and you're going to look at the account level. That's the easiest way to look at that way. Let's go over here, and we're going to go back into our Sally's Field one now. Spend a little bit of time over here looking at that one. That's fixed. So now, but wait, it's still there. There's an A there. There's an A there. Hit save and refresh. You have to hit save and refresh after you make a change. That way you see whatever it is that is most updated. As soon as I hit this, these A's will go away. We'll see all of these prices update to what they're supposed to. I'm a big fan. Anytime we're in PriceLabs or any type of a tool, doesn't even have to be revenue management, make sure you hit save and refresh if you make a change. That way you know for a fact that it's in there and that you're looking at the most recent information. So I fixed that little guy right there. I'm just going to kind of look at my calendar a little bit more. Okay, we've got some good events, St. Patty's Day, got nice Big Ears Festival. That's fun. Okay, Easter, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, everything looks good. Let's go check that base price. The base price is that first starting point. I don't have any bookings coming in. I haven't had any in a while. Hopefully, I would have a recommendation. Unfortunately, I don't have one in here. So if I click here, we can see why. And it says there will be a recommendation available soon. I've changed my base price recently, so anything that they would suggest would become irrelevant. Now, we've changed this base price over the course of the past few days, so that's why we don't see a recommendation in there. After another couple of days, this recommendation will come in and give you a suggestion off that new base price. So, since I don't have a recommendation right now, I'm going to leave this be until I do have one. My minimum price, I feel pretty good about. Yeah, I'm hitting it a lot. Like if you look at this calendar, you see a lot of 115s, right? But that's me protecting my day. I don't want to go below that. Oh man, but I gotta get a little bit of lift somewhere. I don't want to change my base price. I've got some options now. If I need to get something here in February, do I come in here and do I say, well, let's just go ahead and take February, the entire month down a certain percentage? So I can come in here and I'm going to say, I'm going to take this down 10% and hopefully I get a booking there. So I'm going to hit add and refresh right here. And what we'll see is from January 31st to February 28th, all of those rates will now be a 10% decrease from where they were. So I didn't have to adjust my base price. I didn't adjust my minimum price. All I did was come in and say, hey, take 10% off of that price. If I was already at $115, that did not push me below it. My minimum price is my minimum price. You will not get below it unless you go in and specifically tell it. Like if I click right here and I say, I want my price to be 40 bucks, add and refresh. This is the only way that you're going to be able to get in there and go below your minimum threshold. And you're going to get a warning that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? So I'm going to go back. I don't want to do that. Don't want to save this. But this is how I can go in and I can approach February. And I can say, I need to get something in there. Let me just bring a little bit down. Now, we talked about the booking window, the importance of the booking window. Let's do a quick refresher for Knoxville and see what that booking window is in Knoxville. And what I want us to do is to remember once you get that booking window, that's where your eyes need to be trained. So I came in and I just said, hey, February doesn't have anything. Let me bring the rates down a little bit, but I really, really need to dial this in. So let's come down here. Whole bunch of chaos in there. Please ignore my graphs for now. I can see my market booking window, which is 31.5 days. So essentially where I need to be looking right now is in March. So I went in and I said, February, come on down a little bit, but I need to go start working on March. And I should have been working on my February rates back around Christmas time going into New Year's. That's when I should have really been looking at it. But I've missed that. It is what it is. February's down now. I could probably bring it down a little bit more, but I need to go in there and start focusing on March now. So let's go take a look there. Let's go back up here. I'm going to hit my calendar again instead of neighborhood data. Now let's go take a look at March. March is very similar. Everything's wide open. Got some pretty high rates. I've got some 115s. You know, I need to maximize my revenue. I can come in here and do a couple of things. I want to pull down my weekends. That's what I'm going to look at and say here. I've already at $115 over here. I think these 186, 188s are just a little too expensive. So I'm going to come in right here, 186. I can do a percent change on recommended. And I can come in and say minus 20% for that day and add refresh. So we're going to let this load up real quick. And then I'm going to show you how you can do one of those changes as well. So we've got our 20% here, but you know what? I kind of wanted to go ahead and apply that to the St. Patrick's Day weekend too. You can come in, click and drag it, do all that same work over that you just did. You can also come right back to where you were. And then as you scroll to the bottom, I know this is not advanced, but this is a very simple thing for you to use to make your life easier. You have a couple of options where you can apply this. This one right here, copy to another date range, will be very, very easy for you to use. So we're up here on our initial override saying March 7th and March 8th. We want 20% off the recommended price. And now I want that to also apply on March 14th and 15th. And I want to do that minus 20% that next week too. So let's just go ahead and put that in there for 21 and 22. And now I can hit update and refresh. That's going to take just a moment and we will see some minus 20% popping in there on all three of those weeks now. And there you go. So now I've kind of come in and looked at this and said, I don't have a base. I adjusted my base price, you know, not too long ago. So I don't have a recommendation. I don't have any bookings. Could come in here and say, hey, let's just go ahead and bring this down a little bit because I know I need to get some bookings in there. Or you can come in and target this way if you want to. Going ahead and looking ahead, everything else looks good for me. This is not in my booking window, so I'm not too concerned about it. I feel comfortable where I'm at right now. So I'm going to hit save and refresh. Make sure that all this is as updated as possible. And then I got to check out. I'm about to go hop on a flight and I need to make sure that this goes to Airbnb right now. So I'm coming up here and I'm hitting this sync now button. And that is going to send it to either your property management system or your OTAs, wherever you're connected, that will send it over immediately to that. So if I were to go over into, you know, this property is on Lodgify. If I went into my Lodgify PMS account here in about a minute or so, I would see these rates completely updated in there. And then that PMS would send it over to Airbnb for me very shortly as well. So we've looked at that Knoxville one. Now let's step back and go back to our beginning stage. We've got these properties. None of them are performing well. We started here because it was the last one that was, or it was the furthest booked from us. Now let's go look at this one because it's similar. It doesn't have any occupancy, doesn't have any ADR. It's been a while since it's been booked, but not quite as long as this one. So I'm going to hop into Mountain Thunder Lodge. Anybody that's familiar with the Summit County area may know of this complex. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Typically about 3 or 4 bedroom, townhomes. And this one in particular is a 4 bedroom. So kind of the same thing. I'm going to come in here. I want to see what my calendar looks like. Oh boy, there is a lot of availability. This is big ski season. I need to get something going in here. Base price is 809. I'm definitely starting on my base price with this one. So let's go check it. Got my 809 base price, and I have a good recommendation of this now. I don't have any occupancy coming in, so PriceLabs is recommending let's take this base price from $809 down to $771. If you read all of this information in here, you see that your pricing is going, or the pricing for this would then be in around the 27th percentile of the market. The reason that this suggestion is happening is because this particular listing has very low occupancy. You can also come down and in this blue box right here, you can see that this was last recommended on the 26th of January. So 3 days ago is when we got this, 4 days ago, technically. And then that you will have a brand new one come in for you between February 2nd and February 5th, depending on whenever we do our analysis of it. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to accept that 771, hit confirm base price. And I want to see now, has that done enough for me to maybe get some bookings? So I can come and we started on that first one. I was looking at the calendar. If I want to see how my prices change from here, you can hover over any of these dates. Again, we start at the top and read down. But to find your last seen price, all you have to do is look at the very, very bottom left corner. I can't point it out with my mouse right now, but if you look at the very bottom left corner of this graphic that just pointed up or popped up, you can see our last seen price was $812. The current price is now 703. So you can see an individual day there. But if you make a big adjustment to your base price, like you did this, or like we did this one, and you want to see how your rates are impacted by that move, come on over to neighborhood data. This, I've said it before. I love this area. If you're not big into graphs, I totally understand. It can be a little overwhelming. So one of the things that PriceLabs has actually started implementing within, I don't know, the past 24 hours or so, we look at our occupancy chart down here. It looks nice and neat now. It's now set up monthly. This is a nice little view for you to have instead of having all those graphs if you want. So you've got this view. You've also got this view for that. So we're trying to make things a little bit easier for you. But what I wanted you to do is be able to observe how your rates have changed with that base price change. So what we're going to do, you can't see it very well right now because of the way this particular graph is. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the next 90 days. So what we can see on here now, the black solid line is what your base or what your rate is based off of the current base price. So that black line is my rate based off of a $771 base price. That gray choppy line that you see that kind of follows along and it's just above it, that's where my rate was at with my previous base price. So you can see this adjustment. And in certain areas, it's not that big of an adjustment. Like if I look right here at April 4th, that's $49 that it's changed there, not too much. You can see a little bit more of a change right here though. So that's a substantial jump that you see going from 1260 down to 1092. This to me would indicate to me, hey, I've got my rates coming into a realm where they really need to be. So this is how you can kind of look and observe once you make that base change, how has it moved your rates fully? If you wanted to look at it for the whole year, you can. You have all these options. It does become a little bit more difficult to see those changes when you look at a year. So if you're looking out to a full year, I would suggest clicking and dragging. And what you can do is set a little square, just like so, and zoom in on this. So now I could, even though, I was looking at the next 90 days, I kind of needed to know how this adjustment was going to impact New Year's Day of 2026. Now I've zoomed in and I can kind of see that. You can see that the pricing didn't change too dramatically, a couple $100, but it's nice to be able to come in and observe where that rate's at now. So I feel good about where my rates are at. I do want to come down and do the same thing I was talking about. Let's look and see what that booking window is. This one is drastically different. So our average is 67 days. But if we look here in February and here in March, man, unfortunately, I've missed the peak booking window for February and March. I should have already been in there making these adjustments. Oh, I messed up so bad. I need to go in there and fix those days up, but I unfortunately I have to start looking toward April now. So you would be coming in here, go into calendar. I know I got to do some stuff here in February. I hope that base price change works, but now I know because of that booking window, I got to pay extra attention right here, right now. I don't have any bookings in here either. Let's just go ahead and, let's take some of this down a little bit. Just try to get something in there. I'm going to come in knowing that my booking window is about 2 months out. I'm just going to come in and start targeting that area to try to get a little bit of lift. Um, Now, let's take a step back and we're going to go look at our Chicago property and see how that might differ as well. Now, this one, I believe I did accept a base price update on, so we'll probably see something similar to what we saw in that Sally's Field one, which is that we did not have a recommendation. But let's just check and see. I came to this one last because it does have some decent performance that I can see. I've got a pretty good, I'm outpacing the market for this last minute booking area, but I do need to do a little work. And it's been a while since this has been booked. So let's come take a look. Right. And now I'm in here. See, we've got some other stuff in here as well. I've got seasonal profile applied here. I've got my base price, got some bookings. Dang, there's that A again. Why is it still there? Gotta get rid of that, right? Anybody remember how we get rid of it? Hit save and refresh. It goes away. You do have to hit save and refresh whenever you enter one of your listings. You don't have to, but go ahead and do it. That way, you know whatever you're looking at is absolutely as recent as possible. So I'm going to come over here now. Got this adjustment in there. I've got a nice booking. I've already hit this because last time I joined in or last time I looked at this property. Let's go take a look at that base price. All right, so we're right at that recommendation still. We accepted this yesterday. So I'm going to be good with this and I'm going to leave it as is. Says has to be different, so can't save it, obviously. But now, let's pretend these have been in there for a little bit. I got to target this time. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I got to get this booked. So just go to my minimum. I'm going to say I can go down minus 100% if I want to, minus 50% if you want to. Just put minus 50% on there. So my goal for that weekend, that Saturday, Sunday, was I wanted my price at $50. So I could have gone in there and said fixed price of $50. I just chose to go ahead and put that minus 50%, knowing that it would take me down to 50 and not get below that. Now, on some of these other ones, you can come in and maybe you want to slice and dice a little bit more. But in all honesty, I think we just need to, for the rest of February, let's just come in here, try to get something in there. I'm going to go 10% down there. Add refresh. And I'm overriding one existing date specific override. Yes, I do want to do that. So I'm going to hit update there. Give this a moment to load. And now we can see we have pretty much everything that we want in there. That 9th right there got left out though. So let's go ahead and open this up, take this back to the 9th and go back through the 28th. Update and refresh and update. All right, so now we've got a little bit of creativity in there. I really want this booked up. Got a little bit of movement here, but I got to remember I need to train my eyes. I don't want to just come in here and be doing this. Hey, I missed January, I missed February. Let me bring my rates down. I need to really be monitoring what is happening in that booking window. So come back up here. We're going to see that I do believe we're going to see for this one, that booking window is very, very short. So we come down here. Booking window average is about 21 days. So we should be looking historically, thinking about an entire calendar year, about 21 days in advance. But Keep in mind, slow seasons, those booking windows are much, much smaller. So this one shows me February is really about 6 days out. March is about 9 days out. I'm over here freaking out about my rates and my calendar not being opened up, but really I'm good because if I'm looking at February, I should only be I'm like my eyes should be trained to about Valentine's Day. The rest of February still has plenty of opportunity. So now that I have this additional context, I don't have to look into April. With this market, I can be a little bit more short sighted and I can focus and be a little bit more risky with my rates as well. So now I know I'm good right here. I can get this stuff booked out still, but I really want to try to get this booked out. So instead of doing a minus 10%, I'm going to do something a little different. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, I want minus 20%. And I don't want my rate to go above $85 for the rest of this period because I want to go in there and try to get as much occupancy as possible. So now let's see how those rates change when I go in and I say, take 20% off of my rate. And if it's higher than $85, bring that baby down. 85 is as high as I want this right now. So I'm going to come in, boom, and update refresh. Give this just a second. And now we can see all of our rates have updated to where it's a very, very, very bookable rate. We have a short minimum length of stay. You can see I've got one night going down through here. I do have 3 nights still there on weekends. That's something you could definitely look at changing, but maybe operationally you just have to have those 3 nights there for a Friday or a Saturday. So we'll leave that there and not worry too much about the minimum length of stay. But if you are past your booking window and your minimum length of stay is not in line with the market, that is going to be a hindrance for you. So you want to make sure of where you're at with that too. With that context, I've got 3 nights, 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 3 nights on all of my weekends in February. I should have looked earlier, but I'm going to go back to neighborhood data now and I'm going to go see what that average length of stay is. Average length of stay is 3 nights across the market. It's 3 nights here in February, and then it starts getting down to 2. My rate, I brought my rate down, so I'm going to leave my minimum length of stay where it is. That's how I'm going to go ahead and approach this. You have an option also if you're in that situation where your length of stay may be 3 nights or 4 nights. Try to pull that lever, the length of stay lever, before you go in and hammer your rate down really, really low, so to speak. If that's a possibility for you, you do want to try to pull your minimum length of stay. For this particular listing, though, I don't want to do that because it's close to Wintrust Arena in Chicago. If you know Chicago area, you probably don't want to have a 1 night weekend stay in there. So strategically, that's how I want it. So I'm attacking the price, so to speak. I hope that makes sense. This is kind of how I would go through and review a calendar in this situation. We are going to have plenty of time now for Q&A. So I'm going to hit my stop share button. And let's take a look at everything we got here. Please keep in mind, and Karishma, if you want to hop on here in a second and let them know exactly when we'll be sending over the quiz for them.
Yes, I am pasting the link to the quiz form in the chat section now.
Awesome. Please. So if you will, please refrain from putting anything else in the chat section for the next little bit until everybody can access that link. We do want you to go ahead and take that quiz, and then we will select 10 of you randomly that have the highest score. We assume that there's going to be more than 10 people that have the score, but we will end up doing 10 of these. Like I did 3 listings today. We'll take a look at about 10 different listings tomorrow. Hopefully we may have a little extra time too, and who knows, maybe just go full in at the accounts with that. So let's see here. And I'm going to go through these questions and I'm going to start at the top. So I apologize if you asked this question early on. It's hard for me to kind of look at the questions coming in and then relate it to what I'm doing. So my apologies if I didn't cover any of this. So Kim says, can you touch on the importance of the booking window again and give an example of when to be looking ahead and how to best plan for that. I think I kind of covered that a little bit by going in there and looking at each one. But the booking window is super, super important, especially for understanding when you need to be reacting, and when you need to be proactive as well. If you have a really far out booking window, you need to be a little bit more hands-on, as it's getting there. So 6 months out, you may be tweaking rates a little bit, tweaking your base price, going and trying to adjust a setting or something like that. But sorry, please again refrain from putting questions in the chat. We have the Q&A area specifically for that. We need that chat area for the quiz now so that everybody knows that they can go to that quiz. Thank you very much for that. All right. Greg says, yesterday you covered how to make sure that the discount strike throughs created in PriceLabs show up properly in the various OTAs. Can you please re-summarize? Yes, and we actually had a sidebar conversation kind of looking at that. I don't have the link handy, Karishma. I don't expect you to have it handy either, but I'm going to leave this question is unanswered on our sign so that we can send over the specific link to Airbnb for you. But typically, what it is, and we got this confirmation looking at Airbnb, you need at least a 10% discount from the average of that day's rates over a past period of time. I want to say it was 30 days. So if your rate has stayed pretty much the same, and then you take 10% off of it, you will get a slash through it. If you've done anything where your rates have been jumping up and down, it will need to go 10% below whatever that average is of that time period. Instead of it saying like, hey, I'm just taking 10% off of this price, it has to make sure that you are actually taking 10% off of what Airbnb has been presenting for the past couple of days, so to speak. Uh, there we go. And she just put in the link to the Airbnb discount breakdown. Thank you so much. I have no idea how you got to that quickly, but that is impressive. All right. Cleo Ortega asks, can we combine discounts with last minute pricing or minimum stay requirements? You can combine discounts. Are you wanting to would be my next question with that. If you're wanting to combine discounts, the only really good way of doing it would be your occupancy based adjustment, which is a part of the algorithm. It's a very small part, but it does work as a part of our algorithm. Then your last minute pricing would couple onto that. You could also go in and do what I was kind of showing you by doing those manual overrides and saying, hey, add 10% discount on top of this. That would be the best way for you to go in and combine those discounts. Let's see. Taylor says, what email address will they be sent from? I believe we send all of our information out from marketing at pricelabs.co. Is that correct, Karishma? Where the videos are coming from?
Yeah, that is correct.
Awesome. Uh, what metrics in PriceLabs help us evaluate whether discounts are increasing bookings? It is a good question. There's not something specifically in the dynamic pricing tool, so to speak. In the market research area in our market dashboards, where I was saying yesterday, you can do some really, really, really deep diving stuff. That's going to be the best place for you to find that. And once you create a market dashboard, you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you see the market breakdown of cancellation policies, the cleaning fee breakdown, weekly discounts, and then monthly discounts as well, and how well they perform. It's not going to necessarily tell you exactly which discount to use. There's going to be context to it. You'll see, some things in there that are like, hey, this $450 cleaning fee books at 60% of the market. That's going to be indicative of the property being really great. So keep in mind, there's little nuances with it, but market dashboards, you'll be able to see anything that you want to about discounting percentages that win, cleaning fees that win, and then cancellation policies that win as well. Right. Okay. Greg has a really good question. Let me get back up to it. I lost it, moved down. Greg Barber asked, is there a way to make it so if you want that Saturday, you need to take 3 days, but you can pick before and after? Or can minimum stay only be applied to the day of check-in? Yes, the second part is correct. The way minimum length of stay works, and when you set it up as weekday, weekend, it starts on that check-in day. You can, if you absolutely have to, adjust what your weekend day is to kind of counteract that. So if you wanted your Saturday to be included, you would need to turn your Thursday into a weekend. And again, this is not, I shouldn't even said anything like this. Um, but that there is a way around it. That's just a very advanced way of utilizing a pricing software. Um, I don't want to confuse anybody more than I probably already just did with that. So if you'd like a little bit further detail, Greg, go ahead and reach out to support@pricelabs.co and they'll help you out with that one. All right. And he says, is there a way to show that the price has been discounted in Airbnb Verbo rather than just reducing the price where it shows, for example, the price was supposed to be 1,000, but it's strike down with a new price showing, let's say 800. Unfortunately, there's not anything within PriceLabs where we could pull that back from Airbnb, so to speak. We do have reservation data and all of that, but once we send the pricing to them, we don't see anything that has the discounting percentages on there or anything like that. I do think this is a really good idea for us to take back to our team, though, and have them start to try to figure out a way to potentially do that. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there isn't anything right now. Oh, yes. Sarah Singh, I love you. This is a great question. It doesn't really have a ton to do with this masterclass per se, but this is super important for anybody that's doing revenue management. Sarah asks, please talk a little bit about cleaning fees and if we should be analyzing how our cleaning fees make us more or less competitive in the market. 100%. Fees are super, super important, not only for the customer perception and making sure that, hey, you're not trying to get too much money off of something that you're not, but you need to, as a revenue manager, as a property manager, as a homeowner, you want to make sure that you are absolutely covered on everything. You don't want to give away any of your revenue by having cheaper cleaning fees or doing anything like that. You want to make sure you don't necessarily need it to be a profit center, but you got to make sure that you are charging market competitive pricing, and that you are also not underselling what you actually have in there with the cleaning costs. So to do that, the best place for you to go, in my opinion, that we can do the market dashboards thing, but you don't have to do market dashboards. You can go into the neighborhood data on your dynamic pricing tool. So pick any listing, go to neighborhood data, pick a few of the comps in your area. The better that you can do at actually dialing it in, um, and understanding those comps, you'll get a better view of it. But you can also just select the ones that are the closest to you so that you can get a good understanding of what everybody else is charging in the market. Um, that to me would be the best thing. That's a great question, Sarah. Cleaning fees are super, super important. We do cover this a little bit more in depth in our market dashboards webinars. So if you'd like to join one of those, I think there's one coming up beginning of next week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday next week. But please go ahead and join that for us. All right, let's see here. Christy says, when a large event is added to the community, when does that show up on PL calendar for event specific rates? In my case, Gulf Shores, Alabama is hosting the NCAA women's volleyball tournament May 2nd through 4th due to the wildfires in California. This has just been announced yesterday, so wondering how when this is taken into effect. That is a very specific use case, but it's a great way of kind of allowing me to describe how our team works on these types of situations. So we're not inherently just aware of everything in the news. Ideally, you are going to send this over to our team and somebody's going to hop in there and immediately look at it. But if we're not notified of it, we start picking up on the demand trends. So yes, there would be like one or two bookings that happen, but the second we start to see something that is not I don't want to say haywire, but something that's a little bit different, we immediately send our revenue management team to hop in and start analyzing what may be happening in there. the more of our users that go in and think of it as crowdsourcing, Christy, by you putting it in there, that's going to send a trigger. If anybody else in your area has put it in there, the more the better. Um, with this one in particular, I definitely see the importance in this with it happening so late. So we'll make note and send it to our team after this call to make sure they're following up on that one as well. Right. Julie says, rather than just guessing 20% to get some bookings, wouldn't you investigate competitors' pricing and bookings first? Ideally, yes, Julie, that is what you would do, is go in there and take a look at what your competitors are doing and how you would want to do the pricing there. What I was really trying to convey, though, is the importance of looking ahead and trying to get that booking window really, really dialed in. Um, so yes, you're 100% right. The more detailed you can be with it, the better it's going to be for you. If you have the time, 100% hop in there to that comp set, look at it as much as you can. But please make sure that you're using those comp sets in conjunction with the booking window as well. The reason I kind of just went in there and did that minus 20% for February was me looking at it and saying, like, hey, it doesn't really matter at this point what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna lose my job if I don't get somebody in there, or I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills if I don't get somebody in there. Just trying to show a quick way for you to make those moves. So Thomas says, from your experience, what has a higher impact, pricing or review score? I, it's kind of that's kind of hard to answer just because coming from a revenue manager standpoint, I definitely think pricing is going to have the bigger impact, but review scores have such a huge impact now. They're very, very important. Um, Make sure you're staying above a 4.5. You really want to be around a 4.8. I think at the last conference that I was at, they said that roughly like 75% of bookings come from people that have a 4.8 or higher. So that's something to keep in mind. You definitely want to make sure you're taking care of guests. Um, and that really shows up in the review scores. For me personally, we got a bunch of email addresses coming in now. Sorry. Um, for me, my personal opinion would be pricing's more impactful because you got to get people in the door, so to speak. But if you've got a great property, pricing is not quite as important as those reviews would be for your overall ability to get conversion and then to generate as well. So, let me look through if we got anything else in here that's good. Da, da, da. Acceptable minimum night stay for weekends. Yeah, so MJS, how can you gauge optimal minimum night stays for weekends and weekdays in a market? Inside the dynamic pricing tool, the best place for you to use or best thing for you to do is going to be look at our um, minimum price selection tool or the suggestion tool that says that it's in beta. That's going to help you get a really quick and good idea. If you want to dive in and have a huge amount of information, check out our market dashboards. You'll be able to see how minimum stays perform across seasons and across different segments as well. Thomas asked, do the price recommendations factor in whether the fees on Airbnb are included or paid by the guest? That is not factored in with it. I will go ahead and tell you, don't have a timeline or anything like that, but that is something that is under consideration and that we have been working on for a little bit, is figuring out how to get those fees included with base price help tool and in the graphs as well. Let's see. Michael says, under base price recommendations, what do the three red triangles indicate? Severity of the base price recommendation versus what you originally had the base price set at. I'm not 100% sure on those three red triangles. That's one I wish I'd seen in the middle of me going through and presenting. So we'll take a look at that and respond back to you. Let's see what else we got. Okay, if it's very last minute and no bookings have come in, and this is Yassine, for the next several days, is it recommended to drop pricing or maintain rates as per PriceLabs, especially if it's still during busy season? That's going to be a little nuanced with you. Typically speaking, I would say you want to maintain your rates in high season, but there's always those little bit of nuances too. If you haven't been booked in a while, you need to get in there and make little bit of an adjustment manually, in my opinion, just to try to get in there and get a little bit more visibility on Airbnb or on Verbo. That would be, but typically speaking, if you don't have anything getting booked, the ultimate thing that you're going to have to do is bring price down. But again, I mentioned it a little while ago. Before you bring price down, make sure you check your minimum length of stay as well. If you're still trying to get 7 nights and everybody else in the market's at 3 nights, that's going to be the bigger issue than you going in and dropping your pricing. You need to be visible for that. Da, da, da. Let's go down through here. Brian, you got a pretty advanced question. It's a great question, but I'm going to have somebody respond to you if you don't mind instead of covering it here. Don't want to confuse too many people. Da, da, da. Terry has a really good question, and it looks like I failed to explain the polygon drawing a little bit. So my apologies for that. But we will respond to you via email as well, if you don't mind. Anybody that's mentioning anything about the recordings, those should be coming out. Krishma, do you have any update on the recording going out? I know I saw the test email this morning.
So all the emails went out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which was a couple of hours ago. If you
Awesome.
haven't received, just drop your emails in the chat and we'll make sure we send it again to you guys. The emails may be in your spam or maybe bounced back. So do check your spam folders as well.
Gotcha. Um, I like having fun with these things. It looks like Miss Kathleen tried to snap a screenshot of us and posted the screenshot information. Miss Kathleen, thank you for joining us today. We do appreciate you. Bunch of Okay, Adrian, how many properties? Hey, Adrian, how are you, man? How many properties would you recommend including in each of your comp sets? I'm sure that has already been asked. Surprisingly, it actually hasn't been asked. Um, I think it's really pretty much everything I say is going to be like, hey, it's nuanced. If it's a super, super rare type of a property, you want to have apples to apples. It may just be one competitive unit, it may be 5 competitive units. If you are in a densely, if the supply is really dense in your market, you probably want to have a little bit more. And what I would do is say you want to build out comp sets that are true comps. So if you're in a market that has a ton of 2 bedroom condos, you don't want to just build out a 2 bedroom condo comp set. You need to have ones that are similar in the amenity offerings. Is it pet friendly? Does it have hot tubs? How many does it sleep? How many bathrooms? That's when you would start getting into that, when you look at something that's really, really heavy in supply. But generally speaking, I would say on average, you would want at least 10 comps in an average normal comp set, in my opinion. If you're a huge data analysis geek like me, maybe you have some more in there. And if you don't have any, you want to get it as specific as possible and make sure that it's based off location and how they perform and how you want to perform as well. Don't just go with, hey, this guy's right next to me, so I'm going to price match him. Make sure if he's pricing a certain way and you're going to look at his comp set that you're good with what he's doing as well. So, all right, got a couple of emails coming in. Do appreciate y'all. Um, Lori asked, interesting question. I can't believe I've never been asked this, but it's a good one. In theory, if you pick the perfect base price and kept it for a full year, would that equal your ADR? I think it's safe to say in theory, it kind of would, but that would also, for that to become factual, then what we would end up wanting it to be would you would end up having to have the exact occupancy that would be predicted to get to that base price. So again, a convoluted way, yes, you would, but that would also equal you having the perfect occupancy, which at this time I can't speak on what that perfect occupancy would be. It's very market dependent. Generally speaking, you want it to be somewhere between 70 and 85%. 100% occupancy people like to. So let's see here. Matthew says, sorry, but the competitor map shows pre-chosen competitors. How do I find a particular property if I have an address for that property? It's a really good question. If your view was the exact same as mine, all you've got to do is X out of those competitors and then you can go in and I don't have my screen pulled up, but there is an area right at the top of that where you can go in and put a specific URL. You can't put the physical address of the property, like you couldn't say, "Hey, my next door neighbor's address," but you would be able to take the Airbnb listing and give us that Airbnb listing number and work that way. Uh, all right, go through here. Got a couple more on chat stuff. Oh, fun question. Where did I spend my summer vacation this year? And this will be my last question for the day. My and I just saw that Shirani's thing that came in, so we'll address that too before we leave. I don't typically take vacations. I do a bunch of little miniature things. My family and I were big pro wrestling fans, like Sting over here. So I like to take my 8-year-old daughter to big wrestling events and concerts and things like that. So we like to do a bunch of little micro um, visits and things like that. So and then Charani said, having a bit of a problem with the quiz. When I click on it, it opens up in the window off the screen. I tried to copy, but it does not allow me. I did it on my phone, but it says error. If you don't mind, Charani, please put your email address in the chat for us, and then we'll try to get in touch with you and address that ASAP. Thank you all very much again for today. I saw a couple of y'all started to fall off and everything like that, but I appreciate y'all being here for 4 days. Looking forward to answering any questions that we've got. Looking forward to seeing how everybody did on the quiz. And then tomorrow I will be super energized to come in and analyze some accounts for you guys. So thank you all again. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And if you ever need anything, reach out to us, support at pricelabs.co. Again, thank you to Miss Karishma. She is as efficient as artificial intelligence, Mr. Arul, but unfortunately, she's not AI. She's a human. She works her tail off, and we really appreciate her here. She's doing a lot of great for us on the education front. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you.